And after that, when they go into the kingdom of Sri Janak, the daughter, Sita ji, she is shown to be the daughter of Mother Earth. She was found from the earth. And Sita is a complete embodiment of perfection, purity, grace, and modesty. All the purities were there in her life. And that is why she was so beautiful. The beauty was of the divine qualities, of the purity that she had in her life. Actually, when the soul comes to this world, originally we are all pure souls. Taking birth on this earth means adopting the body of earth. The body is made up of earth. So we are all the daughters of Mother Earth. We are all Sitas. Because originally the soul is a pure soul, full of that grace and modesty. If we look at a small child, the grace, the modesty, the purity, the perfection that the child is possessing is like Sita, isn't it? So we are all Sitas. The soul is all Sitas. But gradually we lose our purity. But those who are able to maintain their purity throughout their life is the real Sita, which is one, hardly any, or 1% in this world. And who is able to marry purity? Who can marry purity? Which soul can adopt purity in their life? The one who is beyond ego. The one who possesses wisdom. That is why Sri Ram was the only one who could adopt Sita in his life. Adopt purity. Because purity and wisdom go hand in hand with one another. They cannot go without one another. So if we see further, that there was a condition that was kept by King Janak. And the condition was that only the one who is brave and powerful, who can break the bow of Shiva, can marry Sita. The bow of Shiva, Shiva himself is so powerful. So his bow must also be powerful. And what is that bow that we have to break in our life? The bow of ego. If we are able to break this ego from our life, we can also adopt purity in our life. But the one who is not ready to break the bow of body consciousness cannot, because this is the condition that Lord Shiva also comes and lays in front of us. Break this bow of body consciousness and become humble, become wise, and inculcate the purity that is coming to marry you, isn't it? Next, if we see that when the bow of Shiva was broken by Lord Rama, it was shown that in that gathering there were so many other people also. But for ordinary human beings, it was difficult to break, who are in the ordinary consciousness. It was not even approachable for them. Amongst them who were poor in character, poor in spirit, for them also it was impossible to break this bow. And it created fear for those who were cowards. And for the egoistic, it was so heavy that it was not able to be lifted up. So that is why the one who has conquered ego, and Sri Ram was egoless. So the one who has conquered ego was the only one who was successful in breaking this bow and attaining purity in his life. So we find in the next slide that this is how Sri Ram marries Sita, or wisdom and purity get together and they go hand in hand. So if I want to get real wisdom in my life also, in the present time, I have to adopt purity first. Then only I am able to have that wisdom in my life. So this both they go hand in hand. Not only that, but afterwards, when the bow was broken, it was shown in the scriptures that Parshurama, who also stands for ego, he was enraged. And he comes, who has broken this bow, which was not to be lifted by anyone. Here, there is one thing that really brings us into astonishment. In the Dasa Avatar, you all have heard about Dasa Avatar, isn't it? One avatar is shown of Parshurama, and one avatar is shown as Sri Rama. How can both the avatars be present at one time in different forms? But never did we question this. They were at different times, different periods of the world cycle. They cannot exist at one time because it is the form of Vishnu only. If it is shown to be the form of Vishnu in form of different incarnations, Parshurama is also one incarnation, Sri Ram is also one incarnation. Both the incarnation, how can they become face to face with one another and still they are not able to recognize one another? So much of ignorance is there, but hardly we have ever noted such ignorance, such things in our scriptures. And we went on reading them. Parshurama got angry and he came in front of Ram, and Sri Ram with his sweet words tried to console him and cool him down and showed him his divine original form, and that was when he came to recognize him. How can it be possible? So there are certain things which we cannot digest at times. But actually, whenever we rise above ego, there are certain people who try to pull us down again. But the one who has attained purity, they are able to console others also, comfort others also with their sweet words, with their sweet behavior with others. And this is how he also manages to console Parshurama. Afterwards, there is this character in Ramayana who is shown as Mantra. Mantra means bad company. And Kaikai, who is the embodiment of all attainments, who had everything in her life, had so much of love for Sri Ram, but still bad company is such. And the gossips that we have in the bad company, it really influences the mind and intellect also. And when it is influencing, the wisdom starts going. It does not allow the person to realize the truth. What is right, what is correct, what is wrong. And slowly and gradually we are dragged into the influence of the bad company. So this is how Kaikai is also influenced by Mantra, and Mantra tries to take hold over Kaikai's mind and intellect. So if we ever get entangled in bad company, it is very difficult to come out of that bad company. It is definitely going to influence our mind and intellect as well. And that is why she started putting her promises in front of Dasarath also. A king who had mastery over his 10 sense organs, who was a self-sovereign soul. But Kaikeyi starts bringing or disempowering him also. So the one who was completely empowered because of the influence of bad company, and she laid these two conditions to send Sri Ram for 14 years of exile, and Bharat should be given the kingdom. So Dasrath was also under the influence of Kaikeyi. He could not say no to him because he had given her the promise. And that is why she empowered him as well. So although we might be having complete control over our sense organs and everything, but there are certain people who get influenced in the bad company. And because there is some other attachment, that attachment will bring us under the influence and completely disempower ourselves also. This is how Dasrath also got disempowered, and he had to give the command that, okay, Ram should go into exile for 14 years and Bharat should be granted the kingdom. So when they start leaving Ayodhya, we find that when Sri Ram, Sita and Lakshman, so wherever there is the influence of bad company and the self-sovereign soul becomes disempowered, the first thing that takes leave from their life is wisdom goes away, purity goes away, and the renunciation of the consciousness of I also goes away. They take leave and go into exile. And this is how that soul starts coming down in life. When they go away, we find that Sumant, the minister, also wants to accompany. And when they leave, Dasrath, in grief, is on the deathbed. Means the self-sovereignty dies from the life of that person. There is no self-sovereignty remaining. He is no longer a master. The mastery dies, completely goes. And with that, the wisdom, purity and renunciation also takes leave, and he loses control over his sense organs and his mind and intellect. As they go away, Sumant, who was the minister, wants to accompany them. Now Sumant, Su means auspicious, one who had an auspicious mind, and so he was able to direct Dasrath also. He was one of his most favorite minister. Sumant, the one who had a very good mind, an auspicious mind, and always used to give him good instructions to perform good deeds. He also wanted to go away with Ram. He said, there is no place for me now. So our good deeds also want to take leave from our life when the wisdom, purity and renunciation goes and we become materialistic. When we want the kingdom in our hands, the physical kingdom. But then Sri Ram does not allow him. And he says, if the good deeds would also take leave, there will be no support left in that person's life. So on the basis of the good deeds, sometimes he will again come back to his senses, so you go back. You advise him at this moment again, so that he can come back into his senses. So you stay near him. So this is how the wisdom sends back Sumant to Dasrath. Go and give him good advice. He needs you. There is no one to give him good advice at this moment, because Kaikeyi has complete control over Dasrath. So this is how good deeds come back.